Brilliant Pro-Vice-Chancellor. I bet one of the best people in the UK reaching out between university and business, and for all Jane you've been doing in business connections, a huge thank you for what you did. Brilliant. Look, I couldn't be more thrilled to be. I woke up this morning, thought I was in the Caribbean. Fantastic, fantastic. Now, look, I'm pleased to be in this fantastic place. I started my career here 40 years ago at Billingham on Teesside. My first bank was the Barclays Bank on Queensway, and I think I was there for a lot longer than I ever lived here. Teesside's got to be one of the first new universities that's developed such a fantastic track record, emerging from Teesside Poly to become the university in 1992. And since then, the massive Teesside Park has opened, been regenerated, and now, earlier this year, got the green light for a £42 million makeover. So we'll support even more than the 1% of Teesside jobs that it already does. Digital City has gone from strength to strength since it was created 15 years ago, helping to create almost 300 businesses. Of course, some things remain the same. Middlesbrough may have moved into the riverside, aka the Theatre of Dreams, since I lived here. But as my sons, who are massive fans, will attest, the glory days are somehow always just a little bit out of reach. That might be the case for the football club, but Middlesbrough and the wider Tees Valley itself, I think the glory days are right here, and I'm thrilled to be Chancellor of this great university. This is one of the youngest and most competitive places to work in the entire United Kingdom. Competitive salaries, terrific museums, great culture, world-leading expertise in manufacturing, digital and tech, and almost 750,000 people can reach the Tees Valley within half an hour. So the future prosperity of the UK, our children's future, relies on smart, ambitious places like the Tees Valley and the wider North East fulfilling their ambitions. We cannot let them down. Now, I want to be very clear from the start. There is such a thing as Brexit going well. We can reach a deal with the EU that protects jobs, encourages investment, and still leaves the door open for the new era of trade we all hear so much about. It won't be easy, but for sure it's possible. And it begins by asking a very simple question, the very point of this conference. What should a post-Brexit North East look like? As some of you know, I used to be president of the CBE. While I was there, I spent a lot of time talking about automation, fourth industrial revolution, smart cities and so on. And these developments are already having an effect on the shops and factories of the North East. But I'm here today not to represent the voice of British business, but I hope the voice of youth, the voice of education. So just over a year ago I became Chancellor, and I've seen firsthand how good universities give a massive boost to local communities, and nowhere more than the North East are the universities such a vital part of the economy right across the North East. Teesside, like its sister University North East, goes further than most. It is the go-to partner for local businesses, local government and local health services. And we've been unequivocal that the university exists to support the region's economic goals, helping Teesside move away from reliance on public sector jobs and giving local people the skills they need to generate local wealth and to succeed globally. In other words, community universities with an international outlook. Now here's just one example. Innovate Tees Valley, a university-led partnership that helps local SMEs to sell new products and services in new markets. It provides workshops, technical consultancy, market intelligence, graduate placements, support for bid writing, so vital, and actual physical facilities like lab space. And just as an aside, it happens to have got almost £4 million of EU funding. Just putting it out there. Or look at Launchpad on the university campus itself. It supports startups founded by graduates, students and staff. The latest feather in its cap is the computing company Circle Cloud. When they joined Launchpad, they were turning over £30,000 a year. By the end of the following financial year, they turned over £450,000, a 1,500% increase, respectable by most business standards. And the most recent client wins include Middlesbrough College. So the university works to spread and collaborate with other educational institutions. Or Digital City, which I mentioned earlier, born out of Teesside University, and the university has been critical to its continuing success. Our specialist degrees in subjects like animation and computer gaming have fed local businesses with the talent and skills they need to expand, contributing to the Tees Valley Digital Cluster, and which now accounts for 304 million GVA. In turn, those businesses have attracted Animex, one of Europe's biggest digital festivals, into the city, bringing with it massive global names like Disney and DreamWorks and Framestore, and filling up local hotels and restaurants every May. That story is repeated all across the region. Medical research clustered around Newcastle University, engineering in Northumbria, attracting the investment of new automotive testing facility, new port and naval apprenticeships at South Shields Marine School, stocking the ports of Tyne, Sunderland and our very own T-Sport with eager, enthusiastic, talented young staff, and helping to provide the port operator to invest £90 million in local infrastructure. Individual universities using their specialisms to add massive value across numerous sectors, and according to the most recent figures, directly employing over 30,000 people in the North East. These are no ivory towers of academia. They are the beating hearts of local communities. And nowhere, I think, than the North East is better to show that is the case. But what happens if you take all this community stuff out and just look at the cold, hard numbers? Well, in that case, it looks even better. UK universities are a major economic asset, generating an annual output of £95 billion for the British economy and accounting for about 3% of the UK's economic activity. UK universities support 940,000 jobs. That's about the same as banking and management consulting combined. And they generate £13.1 billion of exports. In science and research, the UK punches well above its weight. We've less than 1% of the world's population, but our universities produce over 15% of the world's most highly cited articles, and the UK produces a quarter of all the Nobel Science Prize winners. We rank first in terms of field-weighted citation impact, a widely used metric for research quality. Universities boost our soft power. Find me a world leader, find me a world cabinet that doesn't have university graduates from the UK participating in them, graduate or postgraduate. We also, across University UK, attract over 500,000 overseas students every year, so vital to the business model and the economics of our universities. These students alone account for 26 billion of the economic activity and support over 2,000 jobs in the North East. From the libraries of Oxbridge to the labs of North East universities, UK educational institutions are vital to our economic strength and our global competitive advantage. Nowhere is this more true than the North East. So back to the question, what should this region look like post-Brexit? Whatever the answer is, it must include strong vibrant, resilient universities, supported by the government and with outside drama kept to a minimum. So there is some good news. The Phase 1 agreement provided some much needed clarity for almost 50,000 EU nationals working in UK universities. They can stay. Likewise, for students themselves who are busy planning a year abroad through the legendary Erasmus programme, safe in the knowledge they will be able to participate in it. The transition period was also positive, providing continuity until the end of 2020. But these are looking more and more like crumbs of good news on an increasingly messy dinner table. It beggars belief that 2 years after the referendum, and with less than 200 days to go until Brexit itself, tens of thousands of people, in fact 5 million, don't know what their rights will be this time next year. Many of these are young people who want to enter higher education, making decisions that will affect their entire lives, with this 10-ton anvil hanging over their heads. We know for a fact that overseas students are already questioning whether the UK is the right place to study, putting that £26 billion, not to mention their academic contribution, in grave danger. Universities in other countries recognise this and are wasting no time to exploit it. While international student numbers in the UK basically stalled, rising by just 0.5% in the most recent statistics, the numbers studying in our closest competitors, such as USA, Australia and Germany, are all up by 10% or more. This is a path to long-term decline and loss of competitiveness and our top place in the World Premier League table in terms of universities. So before they do anything else, the government must enshrine the agreement on citizens' rights into law and confirm that EU students starting a course during the transition period will continue with the current set of fees, loans and grants for the length of their course. Then looking forward, we can begin to untangle the current situation, mindful of the importance of universities to the UK's economic and academic success, making sure that whatever else the Brexit deal includes, it secures a strong academic cooperation with the EU and also a proper grown-up relationship with the rest of the world. So what does that mean in practice? First, it means we shouldn't risk dropping out of schemes that we helped to set up in the first place. Projects like the next EU Research and Innovation Programme, which provides a ready-made platform for collaborating with key European research groups, allows access to multinational funding. Projects like the European Investment Bank, which has provided universities with more than £2.6 billion since 2006, money used to expand research and teaching facilities. And of course, projects like Erasmus, which every year sends over 15,000 young students on their very own voyage of discovery. And second, means leveraging Brexit to implement a serious set of new policy reforms that can support the UK's modern industrial strategy. That means building an immigration policy that attracts students to the UK rather than driving them away with absurd decisions like including them in immigration figures, and by using bilateral and multilateral agreements to encourage collaboration in research. Brexit has always been painted as a brave new era of free trade. So let's prove it. Research shows that free trade agreements can contribute directly to universities' international success. It can make cross-border education easier, qualifications more widely accepted, and the mobility of students, academics and researchers far more straightforward. But only if the universities themselves are consulted to make sure that those free trade agreements reflect the reality of the UK sector. And in the end, that's the crux of the matter. Doesn't matter if it's a soft Brexit, hard Brexit, floppy Brexit, or any other type of Brexit. It's going to be a massive upheaval for all of us, especially universities. And given the central role that universities play in the North East and the country as a whole, they need to be closely involved. A fait accompli won't cut the mustard, and it would threaten billions of pounds of economic activity, one of the finest research ecosystems in the world, and the future of our own children and grandchildren. Ladies and gentlemen, I am very clear. I want the post-Brexit North East to be exactly the same, or better still, even better, than a no-Brexit North East. Sights set on growth and rooted in the community. We shouldn't lower or even change our ambitions because of our shifting relationship with the EU. But we do have to be smart about it. The backdrop is going to be different here and all over the UK, and we accept that. But what we won't accept is the interests and impact of universities being shunted aside. Universities, like Teesside, are engines of economic growth, industrial development, and people development. They're anchor institutions. They fill skills gap. They launch startups every day. They're partners of choice for local businesses, local services, local people, not to mention for students from the UK, the EU, and around the world. This region can continue to draw on that expertise, but only if the government does too. We have been clear about what we need in order to contribute to the UK's post-Brexit success. Now it's up to the government to step up, to work with us and deliver a Brexit that works for universities, the North East, the rest of the UK and future generations. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Chancellor. We have time for a couple of questions. Go on,
North East people shy. It's all changed since I was here. You get ahead of programme. That's everyone agrees with me. I'm delighted with that.
I'll start us off. It was a very, very pragmatic and very interesting set of remarks, and a very, very good speech. Thank you very much. My daughter is studying a postgraduate in America. You talk about free trade agreements. If a free trade agreement subsequently is struck with America, how would universities, are there currently, you know more about it than I, are there currently agreements that facilitate this? I know my daughter didn't have huge problems, but it was based on scholarships and academia. It wasn't based on, it was actually funded through a business originally, not through the university route.
Well, look, two things I'd say quickly. UK universities are loved around the world for the quality of the research, the quality of academic engagement, and it's why with all the European research collaborations, the UK is in the lead on the majority of research projects. So that's one thing. We also know our universities are highly regarded in the USA, and the point that I would make is there's no such thing as industry without universities. All the successful businesses I know, in some way or other, are linked into universities, whether it's to source graduates or very often for collaborative projects. So there's no such thing, to my mind, as an international trade agreement if you haven't considered the university and student dimension. So we already have, I think, we're the single biggest foreign direct investor in the USA. The USA is the single biggest foreign direct investor in the UK. We apparently have a common language. There's a very strong foundation for future collaboration. I'd hope to see it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.